Greetings, I am Lies.
And I am Scandal.
And let's play a game
together. Yes.
Alright, so I mentioned briefly how Lily seemed to be handling this area completely differently than the other areas. And I just kind of wanted to go over a second what I was talking about, just how there's still weeds and basically trash and debris here.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been extremely natural given that there's not like a separate area like an upper and lower rose garden, but it's all one area being addressed the same, like narratively.
Yes.
For her to have removed trash and pulled weeds and that kind of thing, and then gone into this kind of decorating. And it feels weird to me, and I think my friend Scandal agrees here,
yeah.
that we're doing this one tiny little strip of it over here and ignoring everything else over here as though they are completely separate areas, or at least in the case of things like dividedly separate areas by a functional division. I love when things don't load. It's so much fun. It's so amazing. All right, you know what, Holly? No castle for you, so that's
None
just it.
for you.
All right, here we go, guys.
All right.
Welcome aboard. We're gonna have to, Luca, remake the
The
car interior.
And that's only after we get our stuff.
Yeah,
That's it.
it's
He has
fine.
to wait for it. It's
He's
very
the-
important.
Luke, you need to wait for us to open the package.
Luke.
We're gonna do it.
Okay, you just show me which of these you want to use in the car. I'm gonna bring you exactly 3 options, and other than that, you might as well just go fuck yourself.
Okay, but like imagine him walking all the way up the garden and all the way to his house, getting 3 full-size sets of
Yeah.
car seats, bringing them all the way down and setting them up, and then having Lily choose. Instead of like having her walk over to his place,
Oh God.
look at them, choose
No.
something and bring it back with him.
I have a much better idea.
What?
He should fucking be like, here are my 3 options. I'll take pictures of them on my phone and send them to you on your phone.
That
Why
would
are
be-
we all not using technology in this goddamn game?
I kind of love that. That's really great. But like, just imagining him taking 3 separate trips,
Like
hauling
full-sized
them down
backs.
here, full-size freaking back seats that either he like horks onto his back somehow and walks down here like carrying a cross style.
He's a Tetris man.
Oh God. I say, or that he like puts on a sledge or on a wagon or something and drags down here. Just ignore the stairs, forget stairs exist. Sledge can do a stairs though, the way a wagon cannot. And then just lines them all up. Well, Lily stands there for like an hour and a half while he does this.
Here, I
and
need you
then
to cycle
picks.
them in and out of the car, and then I'll decide.
Right? Okay, so we'll just, watching you lug all that stuff back and forth is very appealing. Okay, that is not just seats, that is also a roof. My bro. And that is not just back seats, that is all around seats, and they look very fabu, but they look identical to these seats.
Oh yeah,
Like,
it's
that is
just
the same seats.
top on, top off, and
Those
then...
are not seats. That is not seats
At all.
So
What
if
the shit, developers?
that would be freaking hilarious. He's like, I lugged down cactus and went, seats. And Lily goes, oh my God, really? Seats? Are you making an implication that somebody wants to sit on thorns?
Either that or he's saying he's a spiky bottom boy.
Something. So I feel like this would get terribly dirty being out in the open, especially with the white leather implication. That looks kind of cute to me.
It works fine. I was expecting 3 sets of seats, so right now I am really like, what?
You know what? Based on the dialogue, so was I.
Oh my God, really?
I was.
Wow.
I was expecting him to have like 3 different sets of seats that he would then suggest might go into the car. Well, there we go then. I love how like the convertible hood is a seat.
Yeah,
Like
actually,
that's kind of fabulous. Somehow that's a seat. Yeah. Given that is more than just seats, looks awesome.
do you know what that reminds me of, actually?
What?
I thought it was a terrible little short. I think it was a Vine.
Okay.
But basically, there was the dad, and he was moving up the moving roof on his car, on his
Oh, no.
convertible.
Okay.
And the little girl, he's like, I miss you, oh my God! And the little girl starts screaming because, she doesn't know what's going on. Her dad is freaking out while this weird thing is happening to the convertible
Oh, my
while the
God.
roof is rolling up, and she just...
So I have to say, I dislike it when adults use the ignorance of their kids to make a joke at the child's expense.
Yes.
Like, and when I say ignorance, I mean ignorance in a genuine way, not like your child's just ignorant, but like they do not know yet.
Yeah, they have no idea.
Their naivety, even though those come out to be
They're
that same
so
thing.
innocent.
Yeah.
They don't even understand that the convertible is a part of the car. But it's also like, I think the child would have figured it out fine if the dad hadn't sit there and started screaming in a dead panic, pretending, of course.
Okay,
Yeah.
better story. Better story about children and cars. So give me a second here,
All
because
right,
this
all
one is worth it. So we're just going to sit on Luke's dialogue for a second, okay? Join me.
So yeah, I think
Okay.
so.
So, and I read this years ago in a Reader's Digest, okay?
Oh, no.
So what it was is, there was this adult, it was a dad, had a couple of kids, right? And you know, there's a little emergency.
He himself.
I was to say, well, he did not produce them by himself, but he currently had a couple of children. Anyway, so you got a dad, you got a couple of kids. Kids are about 9 and 11, right? Now, at that age, most kids don't know a whole lot about cars unless cars are a real big thing in your family.
Right.
Okay? So at one point, one of them asks, you know, what's that button? It's the emergency blinker button. It's a little like triple triangle kind of thing in most cars. Okay, and it might be specific to an American car thing, but you can look it up, the emergency blinker button.
Yep.
Okay, and when you push it, it starts your car lights flashing front and back to let people on the road know that your car is doing something unusual, you're having a problem, they should pay attention to you and yield around or away from you because you are then a hazard in traffic. Okay?
Yes.
So at one point, one of the kids asked about it, and the dad just very casually says, "Oh, that's the emergency destruct button, right?" He's like, "That is the self-destruct button, right?" And he's just like, and he never thought about it again. Like it had been 6 months since he said it, right? And then at one point, he's on the highway, and you know the car gets a flat tire, like there's this sound, right? And then and then the light comes on, so there's flat tire. And he's like, "Oh shoot!" So he pulls off the road, reaches over, hits that button, and jumps out of the car. Both the kids, and as he's heading around to the back of the car, both the kids start screaming and dive out of the car and start running for cover, basically. And he looks at it, he's like, "Dad, it's gonna blow up!" And like, so he didn't mean to do it, but it was kind of amazing.
Okay, that's a much better story.
Anyway, and he was like, "Oh my God, I have accidentally deceived my kids in their total faith in me when I was making a joke."
My child believed that I was God, and they were wrong.
And they were wrong, because when I casually said, "Yes, that's the self-destruct button," it was not. And anyway, so he then had to go and rescue his kids and be like, "It's okay, kids, I'm sorry, and I didn't mean to." And I enjoyed that story. Okay?
It sounds like a really good.
But it was not malicious in any way, and I just kind of love that where he's just like, "Wait, what's going on?" And they're like, "Dad!"
Yeah, there's a lot of, so I will say in my exposure, it was one of those things that I think feels like it was brought on a lot by like America's Funniest Home Videos, if you guys even know what that is. But basically this prank culture that I understand jokes. I get jokes, y'all. But I also don't get basically pranks where you torture or basically harass someone super hard or injure someone. Like, it's not fun.
Yeah, emotionally scarring people for your own amusement is not cool in my opinion.
Yeah, like, yeah, I think so too.
I hope so. It's your work. You should be proud of it.
Ah, it's beautiful. I made it myself.
I mean, you did, except for you kind of installed it yourself.
Car really is a Luke and Lily joint, huh?
Yes.
What are we suddenly talking about? I'm fine.
That's,
we're gonna have this deep moment.
we've now got to add in more supporting information for the, it's very us. I feel like sometimes they're just like, "Oh yeah, we forgot to build a relationship. Now's a good time to, shoehorn some in."
Okay, that's beautiful. Like, okay, so I've been wondering if this whole like pit experience really has just been like, yeah, well, exactly my friend said. They were like, "We forgot to develop them. Quick, the end of the game is coming up. We need to put in Luke and Lily."
And like it's one of those things where it felt like, in reference to like the party zone, in reference to like doing that one little space in the Rose Garden, and now here, it's like it's been extremely episodic of them going.
No, there was the one I remember in the very beginning when
Oh,
they
with
finished
the
that was
sculpture
at
garden.
night. No. Well, there was two of them then. There was the sculpture garden, but the very first one was, remember that first main area where there was the gazebo and they had a thing of the lights at night where we were both like, "What the
Where there was the quiet little level of like, it's really romantic here kind of thing.
Yeah,
Okay,
and we were like, "What?"
And I feel like while all of those things can add up to essentially, what feels like a relationship conceptually, it feels like they are really sort of like, we started writing this and then we had to balance in other plot and then kind of just shoved it in here. And in like, say, a romance novel, there would either be this implied or stated but not on screen experience that they are still hanging out with each other, interacting with each other, getting to know each other, or spending time together off screen. But again, there's never been any indication that they have spent any time together that we haven't seen.
Yeah.
And that's interesting to me. All right.
Fascinate.
Lily and Luke joint, huh?
Lily and Luke join.
Feels like it, since each of us sort of did,
Nothing.
a couple of like aesthetic choices. Like, I chose for Inside the Hood, and kind of like you chose for, the back of the car, and we did the paint job thing together, maybe, so could be.
Too bad it's not going anywhere.
I mean, a cactus engine doesn't provide much juice, does it?
Don't be like Sokka.
Oh no, what?
God, we haven't seen it yet, have we? So just for context, so there is an episode in one of the Avatar: The Last Airbender seasons where Sokka and the whole crew, with and Aang and Toph and Katara, they're all wandering around the desert and they want water.
Okay.
And Sokka gets the bright idea to drink cactus juice.
Oh.
And the cactus juice causes some serious fucking hallucinations. So that's just me going, don't drink the cactus juice.
Okay, so I haven't even met Toph yet, so there's that in
Yeah.
my viewing of the series, because I'm not very far in, because I keep kind of losing track of it, and I've been kind of ruining it slowly for my friend by asking questions.
It's fine.
And it's not like necessarily a
really?
bad thing, but it is like my friend had this really strong like nostalgic, like I remember this and it was great and it was so good when it was coming out. And then
Yeah.
I'm watching it here as an adult that's never been exposed to it really, because I, different culture, different exposure kind of thing
yeah.
when I was younger. And then going, why this thing? Why that thing? This feels really weird. And my friend going, now I'm thinking more about it as an adult, and my friend here's an adult engaging with it, so it gets a very different feel to it.
It's actually, I recommend it that if you ever have a piece of media that you ever enjoyed as a child, go back and revisit it. Like, really basically sit there and dig down and actually ask yourself questions and engage in your media. Like, it is a good way to kind of see where you were and kind of where you've ended up, and then sort of, like, it's not saying, like, dismiss your younger self, but really just kind of be like, I had some interesting beliefs as a child, or basically what I'd been taught was this sort of thing, and sort of put yourself into your own like perspective or your own shoes, and just like give yourself some time.
You could also have an experience of going, what's different now about what I either understand or what I believe. And for me, like going back and watching some of the things that I liked as a kid, and then catching some of the adult humor and going, whoa, has been very, very interesting. But also, like, I had a movie that I really liked when I was a kid. And this might sound weird, because this was a thing that like I watched with my dad, and it just hit me as being entertaining at the particular, young age I was, which had nothing to do with when it came out, because again, my dad's movie is called See No Evil, Hear No Evil. And it's a really bad, and I just want to say ableistic comedy about a blind person and a deaf person trying to work together to solve problems, okay?
Okay, sounds fascinating.
I would say it's very tone deaf, but it's got Gene Wilder in it, which is great. And he's the deaf one. So...
oh dear.
And as a kid, I thought it was hilarious, and there was slapstick comedy to it that didn't feel as much like embarrassment comedy, which always made me very uncomfortable. And I really liked it. I probably watched it 3 or 4 times throughout my childhood. And I went and rewatched it as an adult, and I was mortified. Like, mortified by how much intensive, sort of inappropriate sexual humor is everywhere. And I was like, I had no idea as a child.
Doo-dah, doo-dah.
And it didn't necessarily make the movie bad. I mean, that's certainly what they were going for. But it just made me so uncomfortable going, and there I was as a kid watching this. And that's kind of interesting.
Well, it's also one of those things that a lot of people mention, and you guys might have heard this, but they do talk about how comedy tends to age pretty poorly because it's very basically time sensitive, and a lot of the humor too, especially for recent or like for previous years. I shouldn't say necessarily recent, but though it still applies.
Yeah.
A lot of people also have a really what I call poor tendency to basically punch downwards in regards to humor. So like basically you'll have a comedian who talks about something that they're not aware of, or that, say for example, like you have a white cis heterosexual man talking about, say, like trans issues, and they're using trans people or trans experiences as a joke, or basically women's experiences or the black experience, whatever that might be. And it's happened a lot, and people talk about like it falls apart really fast. Like there's plenty of like Mel Brooks films that I really enjoy, but even sometimes going back to them, there is that thing of going like, whoa, you had some really interesting views on gay people, like damn, dude.
Like that.
Yeah, so, and that's the thing is that nobody's above critique, but that doesn't mean in any way or form that I necessarily want to silence or censor things.
My friend here has been very concerned that sometimes when we say we don't like something or it's not to our taste, that it will sound like we're saying it's not a good thing.
Yeah.
And that is not the intention at all. It's just literally going, this dress is not my style.
Yes, well, and there's also though that thing though too that something, you can also though wish for less of that thing for sure. Like you really can call something out and say that it's not okay. There's nothing wrong with doing that. But I'm not going to turn around and go, the only way to do that then is to remove that this thing ever existed in history at all, because that's never led to good things in my experience at all. And if you know any librarians or anybody who works in a library setting in any way, shape, or form,
I say banning books doesn't help anyone.
anybody, yes,
Hey.
and both of us especially, like, so I will refer back to the fact that when I grew up, Harry Potter, when it was coming out, was a huge controversy, and tons of people were trying to censor the book all over the place. And ban the book. Like, it was a banned book as a child. Now, as an adult, with J.K. Rowling being a shit-ass turf, there's other issues with it, and also some of her language and blah, 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 and whatever else. But it's just like, the conversation is far more complex, and if, like I said, if you ever talk to anybody who's ever been involved in a library experience, there's a lot of times where they're like, yes, these books are not, like, even like people who are fairly educated and know what's going on, or even people who are not, and they just go, common human decency says that this is really shitty ass behavior. However, I am not going to advocate for the ruination or destruction of this book, because it is still important to have that knowledge or that experience, but it's also there to learn from it and to basically call it out or critique it for what it is.
So growing up, one of my favorite times at the library, because I spent a lot of the time at the library as a poor kid who had reading issues, because, you know,
dyslexia.
One, you're supposed to learn how to read and get connected better to books, and two, the library is free.
Yeah.
I did spend a lot of time in libraries, and one of my favorite things was Banned Book Week. And has always been NCF Book Chick. If you're here, I appreciate librarians and Banned Book Week so much.
Yes.
Because that was really one of those times where you got to engage with literature a little bit more. It wasn't only that these things were banned, it was then that there was, you know, time spent in the libraries, at least in the ones I'd been in, where people would talk about why it was banned and what was important about
those.
and what was, you know, changed since then, or why people were trying to control it. There was more engagement and basically literary understanding, exposition, and critique that I really liked, because as a kid, I never felt like that happened around me much. I was not part of a family that really spent time going, let's dig into literature, let's talk about what we're reading, let's break down themes and presences of like issues and or like, you know, the influence of the author and their background. None of that. And it was always really cool when the librarian would sit down and be like, here's why this was banned, here's what was going on at the time. And they would connect me to not only what like was written in the book or what the author's intentions were or what they were trying to do, but also like what was going on in the world at the time. So the thing is, where I've talked about, a lot of times kids can have trouble attaching to nonfiction, to real world events, because they have nowhere to couch them in their brains, nowhere to put this huge tapestry together. It's just a bunch of tiny little pieces. And in Banned Book Week, I always had a lot more connection to a bigger piece of my reality, and I loved it.
Yes. I was actually going to say one of my favorite Tumblr posts still for like years later, and I don't remember exactly how it goes, but it was basically like, me as a parent goes to watch a movie, gets done watching the movie, looks at my kids. All right, starting with you, little Billy, we're going to talk about, you know, why was that problematic? Basically, like, I can't remember it exactly, but it was super good, because it was also like, I'm not condemning the thing, but I am saying, like, let's talk about basically what might have been inappropriate about that movie. Did you have any questions about the thing that you were engaging in? Like, really, that experience that I love was just that implication, though, also of going, I'm going to have open and continuous and friendly dialogue with my child or my children in regards to their media consumption, and talk about their interests, and talk about how it affects the world around them, and maybe how it might be a reflection of, you know, basically
real world stuff.
Yeah,
and
but
going, hey, let's talk about the political structure in the movie we just watched.
Right.
And, you know, they've just come out of, like, Babar.
Right? Yeah, like, it's really, like, I love that idea, and being able to do that with media, that is the biggest thing. Again, like, I just, like, it's so, I don't know why I love repeating it, but it's just kind of neat of being, like, because it's this ongoing kind of journey that we're trying to do with the Lies and Scandal, basically channel, is basically trying to encourage people to think critically about their media and really be like, it's okay if your media isn't perfect. Nothing in your life is going to be perfect or completely pure and free from problematic
and again, like,
shit, you know?
Perfection is completely subjective.
Oh, yeah.
So nothing can be perfect except that you think it's perfect. Or that there is an impartial standard to put it against, such as, these are the, you know, parameters for making a perfect thing based on my preference for it, or based based on a manufacturing standard of, you know, it has no bubbles and the edges have been sanded, that kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
There is no empirical universal truth of perfection. And it frustrates me when people go, well, but the perfect rock, the perfect story, the perfect whatever. And I'm like, perfect is an opinion.
And also, so I know we're kind of going off on tangents here, but I think it kind of plays in. We, out of curiosity, so a couple of days ago at this point, we actually went and we watched a movie on Netflix that had been panned pretty aggressively when both of us were younger. And I remember when the movie came out, and it's called The Cat in the Hat.
And this is the live action Cat in the Hat that
With
has
Mike Myers
in it.
Yes.
And I had never watched it. I hadn't even
Neither had I.
seen many previews for it. But I had just heard from everybody it was a horrible movie. It was so awful. It was the worst thing ever. Like, worst movie ever made.
It's the end of Mike Myers' career. He's completely lost it.
Yeah, like both of us just heard that this was the worst possible movie ever. Then we watched on YouTube sort of a short video essay about why the movie was good, actually. Like, hot take, the movie's good, actually.
Or basically, the movie wasn't terrible.
Right.
Because, so in regards to, I don't know if, not everybody in our audience, I think, is obviously from the US, but there's a grading system that they will use, like on IMDb or Rotten Tomatoes, and I believe it got like a 3 out of 10 on Rotten Tomatoes, so it's supposed to be like a horrible fucking movie, right? Just really bad. But it was interesting because we were like, okay, in this particular basically essay review by Breadsword, we'll go ahead and link to it down below in our little comments. Basically, the individual there made the case for going, it's not that bad.
And
actually.
going, you can have mediocre movies that have good things and bad things in them. And then so both of us went and watched it. And we were like, it was a pretty mediocre movie. Like, it wasn't horrible. And honestly, I was surprised that a lot of the things that I had assumed from the bit of exposure I'd had to the critiques surrounding it, that it would be way worse.
Or the discourse around it, too.
The discourse around it, I had assumed there'd be a lot of things in there that I found sort of grating or sensory offensive
or
just
obscene,
obscene, or really just like too over the top. Like, I was expecting a lot of discomfort from my own level of interaction, and really a lot of it I found to be artistically pleasing. I found to be well executed or benign.
Yeah.
And a lot of it, there were some things like, I don't like that. I felt like that went a little too far. That was a bit of a squick moment for me.
Right.
But it was overall didn't ruin the whole thing for me. And I was really like, that was a mediocre movie.
Right.
And like, mediocre movie is very, very different than I feel like I wasted my time. Because recently we watched another movie
called
where
Seventh Son.
And we really did both feel like, what was that? And it really didn't work for us. But anyways,
so
to bring all that back in, it's good to engage with your media and to really form your own opinions about it.
Yes, and also be open to the fact that you might actually change your opinion once you basically, get more information, you have more education. That's fine. That seems also perfectly natural.
I have a friend who went to film school, actually. It's one of my tall friends. I've mentioned him before. And he went for directing in theater, but he did a lot of film school stuff. And it's really cool to watch movies with him and talked about directorial choices, camera, lighting, basically script, all of these kinds of things. It's really fun to watch really bad movies with him and have him point out some of the really cool good things they did, and also how they could have, adjusted the really bad things, and also why some of the bad things are bad. Because sometimes you can experience something and be like, God, that felt really weird and awkward, and why? And he can actually break it down. It's pretty cool. He's like, this is probably why that felt super weird to you, which could be really cool to have that sort of language and awareness, and going in the sort of way that I've been going, Luke and Lily, it feels weird, but why? And then trying to put labels on it, trying to describe it.
Exactly. Too bad it's not going anywhere.
Not going anywhere, I guess. Well, we can hop into a car anytime we want.
And burn gas money. Oh, I'm fine.
And burn rubber. I love that they're actually white wall tires. It's sort of ridiculous.
Isn't it fun? Or a bus.
Or a bus. It is cute. It looks very pretty, honestly.
It does.
Or a car.
You're really like, no, romantic moment. Alone. You and me. Right now, him. Bus money.
Or I think he's referring back to the bus stop, and we can catch a bus together, kind of thing. Just referring to the earlier pace of
I thought so
the
too,
story.
but I think she's missing it. Basically, is the thing.
Could be, or like, and she's trying to go back to that drive thing you suggested.
Let's be romantic, damn it! And he's like, the bus stop thing right over
Or she could be also going, but my mom said you'd be, a bad bus ride, basically hopping on bus to Loserville.
Yeah.
So if I go in a car with you, we're not headed to Loserville anymore.
I have control over my life. Yeah, or a car.
And I'm like, they feel like they don't connect so
They also
often.
feel like they're talking about wildly different things constantly.
dear,
Like, I don't
cutscene.
understand. Here we
In
go!
trouble now.
This is looking pretty darn good so far, I think.
Here's the wrap-up of a whole area, except for it's a tiny little piece of an area, and this is
That I-
handled so differently.
Yeah, I don't get this at all.
Still miles to go before we sleep. That one,
Miles to go
I know.
before
That's
I
the
sleep.
Robert Frost poem, the Road Less Traveled.
Yep.
That one, I know.
I used to have that stupid fucking thing memorized, and screw you, I don't anymore.
I
It's
see.
fine.
It's okay. I memorized the Band-Aid poem by Shel Silverstein
Oh, no.
when I was in school and had to memorize a poem. So,
That's adorable.
So take that one, will ya? Uh, I love that he says buzz buzz. Because this is his dialogue box. He just says
Him.
You're like, Luke, what?
He's like, I'm sorry, I got something on my butt.
Are you okay?
Oh, that's me!
Since you said it out loud, I guess it is.
I suppose. Here we go.
Looks at Lily. Bzz, bzz, her.
Huh?
Oh, I guess that's me. Do you know how weird and unnatural that interaction would be?
No, it's normal.
Okay, but imagine it like this. You're trying to get out of a conversation in one of those crappy, bad humor kind of ways, and you just suddenly go buzz buzz. They go, huh? Oh, I guess that's me. And you just pick up your phone that's black and clearly not ringing. Hello, and you start walking away.
That could be fun, but again, I'm like,
It's
it'd be
so
more of a
bad.
friendship dynamic. Okay.
Oh my
Oh,
god.
that's me. Don't know that number. One sec.
It's so bad. Him having
Sure.
said the buzz buzz is so bad.
They've done it before, and it's always bad.
I'm also like, are you trying to get out of earshot or what?
Lily!
Oh my god, I was right. You were like jump scare and you were on top of it.
Yeah.
Oh, Mom! I just, hey, yeah! Yes, jump scare. You look terrifying, Holly. Jeez, Mom, you scared me.
Have you talked to Philip Jones about those accounts yet?
I knew I shouldn't have told you about money, except for I didn't know it. It was my player who knew it, and by that I mean my voice actor. I mean, that sounds way too self-aware. No, of course not. Haven't you seen me repairing the garden?
You have a right to know the exact information.
I know I do, Mom.
Push it.
I know my rights.
Bop it.
In general.
Twist it.
Twist it. Yeah, it's okay.
It's fine.
Yeah, I guess you're right. What? I'll give him a call. Like, instead of saying, have you called him yet? She's just like instead of going, no, I haven't done it yet. She's just like, yeah, I guess you're right. I'll give him a call. How does this not feel suspicious to you, Lily? You are a smart girl. Your mom is just like, this thing. Oh my god.
All right, well, I guess then in the next one, we may or may not call Philip. I really don't care. We're gonna deal with it anyway. So thank you for joining us, guys. If you like what we do, please feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and also please feel free to share our videos if you're having a good time with us. Other than that, also, if you'd like to support us, please feel free to go check out our Ko-Fi or Patreon. Got some links in the description down below. And I have been Scandal.
Luke's not even on his phone. He's just standing over there with his arms crossed. It's amazing.
It's fine. I noticed that too.
And I have been Lies.
And it was great playing with you. Bye!